Hey, Mr. Johnson, this is Brad. Thanks for your email. You're very kind to offer, but my time's not that valuable. You don't have to pay me. If you can deal with how rough I look at 7:30 in the morning, then we can do this at no. We can just do this talking back and forth. Um, so, congratulations on the career change. I'm hoping it's something that you wanted. If not, I'm sorry. uh, so, when you say South Florida, I don't know if you know where you're going and you just were trying to be general for my sake. Um, what you're planning on doing, I mean, you got to remember too. This is just my opinion that is based off of my little bubble of the world and my perceptions, which is definitely not South Florida. It's very rural Northeast Florida. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Um, But my worry would be you spend all this money and have this equipment, and then you don't have any business lined up to start paying for it. And you say that the money's not an issue, so that is a concern in my mind that may not mean anything to you. I just wouldn't like to see all that machinery not being used right away. So but yeah, I guess if you've got the money, I guess it doesn't really matter. So that's one complaint out of the way. Um, the other thing I would ask too is if you've already got a plan for how you're going to be uh, getting business. If you've got some good savings, I guess that doesn't really matter either because you could just spend a week with a couple thousand door flyers from Vistaprint hitting every single neighborhood that you want business in over and over and over and over. Uh, Especially this time of year, at least for me. Depending on what part of South Florida, you might be able to mow all year. But for me, mowing's not going to really pick back up until February or March, depending on the weather. Um, in bad cases, maybe even April for where I'm at. But what I'm saying is there's a few months where you can market yourself so that when people are looking for services, they'll have your flyers, they'll remember your names, that kind of thing. So those are kind of the high level questions and concerns that I might have. I don't think I'm pretty frugal and cheap, and when I got started getting the cheapest stuff I could and building from there because I had to prove this whole concept to my wife. I was coming off of a string of uh, crackpot ideas of things I could do for extra money. So by the time I landed on, oh, I could mow lawns, that was like number 12 in a string of ideas where I would research them for 2 weeks and then abandon them. So for her, it was just another one like, okay. So I couldn't say, well, let me just take 20 grand from the family and I'll show you. I had to get a $3,000 big dog alpha zero turn mower. I was paying like $50 a month on 0%, that kind of thing. So again, if you can do it, hey, awesome. My mind is geared a little differently because I didn't have that. So good for you. And then at least now getting into the specific things, I'm not sure if that's a good price either. The right way to start, I think if you look on YouTube, generally, most people, again, if you've got the money and it's what you want to do, who are we to tell you how to run the business? But one of the issues with getting this much, even not looking at the money side, is that if you find out you hate lawn care, or you cannot, or do not, or will not like running the business side, or maybe you just don't know enough to run the business side. I'm not saying you do, I'm not trying to be insulting. But that's the other issue. If you leverage 20 grand of your cash to get into this business, and then a year later you find out that market you're in is so saturated that there's only $10 or $15 mows and you can't make any money, that's not going to be good. If you get into it 6 or 10 years later and say, you know what, I'm used to the oil field, which is hard work, but for some reason I hate this lawn care work. This is dumb. I don't like dealing with customers. I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to pass any judgment or act like I know you. I'm just trying to come up with some things that I think most people would say would be some of the reasons you wouldn't plop down 20 grand and get all this equipment right up front. If the bundle doesn't include prices, I don't know if whoever you're buying this from is just giving you this one price, but I would definitely ask for everything broken down. Because with the Pack'em stuff, they've got sales sometimes so that you can get, I would like to see individual prices. Gravely, nothing wrong with Gravely's Pro Turn 36, Pro Stance 36 stand on, and a Pro Turn 52 zero turn. I would imagine, not having any knowledge, not having any first-hand knowledge of South Florida, I would think the 36 is a good choice for gated backyards. Most of my smaller gates are 36. I don't think I've got anything smaller than 36, but I've probably got a lot bigger properties than what I assume would be in South Florida. If I'm thinking city lots, I'm thinking very, very compact. I don't know. It would be worth, because if you're getting the 36 to get in the backyards, which I'm a huge fan of, I'm not push mowing. I would much rather you get some customers first, or at least look at the places you want to be and see what size gate do they have. Because if you go into a development where the developer put in 32-inch backyard gates because the lots are that small, but they built every single house that way, your 36-inch mower for backyards is not going to help you at all. I'm making up hypotheticals. What are the odds of that happening? I have no clue. But this is the other reason why you would get the work first and then buy the equipment based on the houses that you want. So like when I started, I bought that 36-inch Big Dog Alpha zero turn. I said, this is the only mower I'll ever need, because all I'm going to do are small properties that have, gated backyards. And now fast forward a few years later, well, yes, Toro did give me the 60-inch, so it's not like I went out and bought it. But what I found is that as a solo guy, my viewpoint has changed where I will take bigger properties. I thought that 36 was all I was ever going to need. But then I said, wait, I can do properties where I can use a 60-inch in the front yards, or if they're not gated at all. I could be much more effective and efficient. And yeah, I'm going to use both of these now. So most days, that's what I'll run is my green Bobcat 36-inch stand-on for backyards, and then my Toro 60-inch for front yards or ungated. I try and build my routes so that it's either a day where I've got the 36-inch Bobcat because I've got 36-inch gates, or I've got the 48-inch Bobcat because I have gates that are at least 4 feet wide. I can't fit all three on my trailer. But yeah, so with your mowers, again, my only concern would be, I've got nothing against Gravely. It's a great brand. There's a guy local to me who all he's ran is Gravely's and he doesn't have any issues with them. But if you're looking at avoiding push mowing, I would like to see, I mean, if you've already done the research and you know the places that you want to be, there's, it's 36 inches or wider. That's fine. That's my only concern there. 7x16 utility trailer. That's big for a city. I've got a 7x16. No, 7x14. Yeah, I've got a 7x14. And in my neighborhoods with the truck that I pull, it's getting difficult. Especially if there's some people who have parked in the street, it can be difficult to find places to put it. Because it's not like you can park anywhere, because on some of the houses, if you're looking like a house here and a house here, and the two driveways are next to each other, I can't park there. I've got to go to where, that next long strip is. And if there's one person that's parked there, I don't have enough room. So then I've got to go to like the next one over and walk across the street. I don't think you need that much space if all you're going to carry is a 52 and a 36. I could be wrong. I think you could get away with a 7x14, maybe even a 7x12 or a 6x12. But I do like that it's tandem axle, so you're never going to overload it. I think it was, I looked it up, and it was like a 5,000 pound load capacity. So I don't think either of those mowers would be, your Pro Stance 36 is probably going to be 800 or 900 pounds, and your Pro Turn's probably going to be, I don't know, 1,000 or 1,100. So all your other stuff, that's fine. That would be my only concern with the trailer is, and again, this is me who doesn't know what neighborhoods you want to be in, but in my mind, I'm thinking South Florida, cities, more compact than I am out here, and I know my 7x14 is tough to get into places. That is attached to a crew cab, long bed Chevy 2500. So if you're pulling it with a 1500 or 150 Chevy or a Ram, whatever, you'll have a couple extra feet to work with that I don't. Husqvarna, nothing wrong with Husqvarna's 525 LK. I like the idea of the Pro attachment system from Echo, the combi system from Steel. I'm looking at Husqvarna's page right now. I don't even know what they call it. They just say detachable shaft, but I like that because it lets you get into different lines of work, like what you're looking at, the Polesaw, the Hedge trimmers, for not much money, because you're just paying for the end that does the work. The only issue with that is if you are going to get a helper, that's going to be a bottleneck, right? Because then it's less appealing of an idea if you're going to have a guy or two guys working with you, because then you need 2 or 3 dedicated machines, or at least 2 or 3 power bases, and that's when that doesn't make as much sense. So as a solo guy, if it's just going to be you, I love the idea of that, because you've got one engine you've got to maintain, but you've got 4 or 5 different tools. The switching between the tools, I have found, is not a very big time investment. The issue for you, again, in my mind, these are the ideas I'm having. If you're in South Florida and you're in the city and there's a lot of crime, I see that you've got open racks, and I'm assuming that's so you can lock stuff up and secure it. If you have a bunch of attachments, you're going to have to keep those in the truck if you want them secure, because you can't. I haven't found any rack that is set up to accept just the attachments and secure them, right? So your Polesaw, your hedge trimmer attachment, your edger attachment, the string trimmer attachment, when you're not using it, you're going to have to stick those in your truck. If you don't want to do that, that trailer will need some kind of a lockable box, a landscape box that you'll have to add on that you can, lock shut. So think about that. That would be a disadvantage. I would not want to deal with that in South Florida. So if you're going to have more than one person working for you, or a person working for you, one person may not be as bad, because you can be mowing and he can be string trimming and edging. But if you ever get to a point where you're done mowing first and it's not ready to blow off, that's a bottleneck. If you're just mowing and blowing, and this guy, your helper is just using a string trimmer or edging or whatever, that's fine. That's not a bottleneck. So you're going to have to think about that a little bit. But I wouldn't want to deal with that in South Florida, because I wouldn't want to store that stuff in my truck. The dirty edgers, the gummy hedge trimmers after you're done cutting some jasmine or something, you get all the sap on. No, I wouldn't do that. But again, completely up to you. 350 BT backpack blower. That sounds like a smaller one, which should be fine if you're working on smaller yards. You're not going to be doing leaf cleanups in South Florida, so I don't think that's an issue. I'm pulling it up now so I can take a look at it. 630 CFM. That, honestly, that should be fine for your, you're going to be blowing off curbs after you edge them. You're going to be blowing off driveways after you've got grass clippings on them. I don't think you should have an issue with that. And then all your racks. I'm assuming the racks are mainly for security, which I would say is probably a good thing based on where you're going. Again, I'm thinking you're going to be in the city. I could be wrong. But so, anyways, those are some random thoughts that I've got on those. Again, if you search on YouTube for starting out, I think most people are going to want you to get the work first, and then start adding the mowers that you need on and all that kind of stuff. I would be I had to have the mower before I started getting the work, so even that, I altered a little. But I think I am somewhere between there and getting all this stuff all at once. Just because I know that, I'm still only doing this part time, and my views and practices have changed in the 5 years that I've been doing it. So I I would hate to see you locked into this much equipment and then realize, wait, I actually don't like this part of the job, or I can actually make more money on small properties where all I need is my 36, and this 52 I don't even use anymore, that kind of a thing. Because if you can get away with the one mower setup, which you could theoretically if you're in a very small neighborhoods with very small lots, so you're not really losing that much efficiency with a bigger mower or than you would have with a bigger mower. If you're not if you've got a very dense route, so all your houses are all right next to it, you're not driving here and mowing and then here and mowing and then here, you've got 7 people right here and then 8 people right here. Then you could get a shorter trailer, which would mean you could fit better in those places. Obviously, it's less money, that kind of thing. So those are some things to think about. Thank you very much for writing. I appreciate it, Mr. Johnson, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. I also hope this helped.